So moving
sucks,
right? I would say there are literally millions of people around this country who want to move, but then just the thought of getting all their stuff together and into a truck and driving to wherever they need to go, they will just stay in a horrible situation for some people their entire life because the thought of moving is so horrible. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to give you some tips to make that process of moving easier and better.
Yes.
Because it's going to suck no matter what you do. We're not going to lie. Moving is horrible.
But there's ways to make it less sucky.
Can I ask what it is?
There are ways, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So stay tuned.
What's up, everybody? I'm Sean Dezad.
And I'm Courtney Dezad, and we're with Keller Williams Realty right here in St. George, Utah. And if this is your first time to the channel, don't forget to press on the subscribe button. And don't forget to press on the bell so that you're notified every time we upload a new video, because we upload new videos every week, usually every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they are about what it's like to live right here in St. George, Utah.
Yeah, and we are licensed realtors in the state of Utah, so as much as we do love making these videos, what we love more is to help you with your real estate needs. So whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, what you want to do is you want to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email.
Or you can reach out to us via WhatsApp. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back.
Okay, so I guess the first thing to do is kind of, I would say, the one thing that makes it less difficult is, let's say, determining the time of year. Everyone has their different reasons why they're moving specifically on time. Like a lot of people want to move in the spring and summer, or some people want to move in the winter. So I would say that keeping that in mind as well, like that way you can monitor like how impacted the moving companies or the self-service moving situations will be. So that way that move isn't so hectic, because one, you want to kind of give a lot of lead time so they can schedule you in, and second, you want to make sure that, okay, is that like, you don't want to go way early. I mean, you don't want to go like right to the last minute and then start frantically looking for a moving company, because one, it's gonna be very hard to find anything, and two, you'll probably get gouged.
Yeah, I would say, obviously, summer typically tends to be the season when most people move, because it's when kids are out of school, so it's less disruption. Obviously, if you don't have kids, then I would recommend not moving in the summer if you can help it, because there will be less trucks available. It's just, I mean, in our experience, the moving trucks, so we used U-Haul.
Yeah, when we moved here before.
Yeah. So describe your experience, or our experience, with the U-Haul truck, and this is just something you've got to know.
Yeah, well, I think before we go there, like I want to say that also another thing besides time of year is time of month. So month's end, obviously people's, let's say, rents or whatever, like, they're like moving out of the situation. So if you can move mid-month, that probably makes it a little bit less impacted. So that's another thing to consider as well. So time of year, spring, summer is going to be kind of crazy. Like end of month, going to be kind of crazy. So if you can avoid all that, if possible, make that move, that availability much easier for both professional movers and, let's say, for moving trucks themselves.
Yeah, and then before we start talking about the actual truck, I would say, so if you know you're going to move, I would say at least 2 months before you move, you should start thinning out.
Yes.
Thinning out your stuff.
It's like a spring cleaning.
It really is. We actually, because we had so much stuff in our house, we actually had to rent a U-Haul and then either donate a bunch of it or dump a bunch of it. And we had to dump a bunch of papers.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, and also actually,
destroyed papers.
Also, there's it's a great opportunity to sell some of your furniture too, right? Because because I would say that the less you take here, the better. That's just for any move, right? Because obviously that's just that much more bulk and weight that you're driving across the country or wherever you're coming from. And so and when you think about it, you're going, okay, is it worth just buying a new couch, or worth buying this new end table or whatever, or especially if it's like old, beat up and all that stuff. So it's like, well, is it really worth taking that across the country, that extra cost and all that stuff, like between fuel, space, quantity and all that stuff. So let's say, okay, so really think about that. And I know, like, for instance, Courtney loves the KonMari method, where basically it's like very minimalistic stuff, where obviously a lot of people aren't going to go to that extreme, but at least really thinking long and hard about like what it would be worth taking with you. Yeah,
I mean, I would say I definitely have less stuff than Sean. I mean, as I was going through the house, I was realizing that more than half was his. And I couldn't, I can't go through his stuff and decide what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep. So, I mean, a lot of it was him going through stuff and getting rid of.
Yeah, there's like just things, paperwork, receipts that like it's just stuff that you've had over time, and so it was just a great opportunity to thin out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then actually once you do that, so let's say you do a dump run, we literally rented a U-Haul, threw all of our stuff that we didn't want in there, took it to the dump or donated it. But then obviously people can do on OfferUp or like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or one of these things or having a yard sale, right? I mean, that's a popular thing to do. Just get rid of like the stuff that you're not going to want to keep.
Yeah.
And then okay, so now you have that. Now let's look at the next part is the packing. So now the packing is an interesting thing. So I'll tell you this. U-Haul is actually, if you're looking for boxes, probably the best bang for your buck boxes. One, they're pretty good quality. They're actually pretty sturdy. And second, they're actually pretty cheap. I mean, I actually looked at different places like Home Depot, Lowe's, even Walmart and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? U-Haul, one, has tons of variety. And two, they have actually a lot of, again, the prices were reasonable. So that's a little pro tip right there.
Yeah, and also they have the boxes you can hang your clothes.
Yeah, the wardrobe boxes.
Yeah,
yes.
so the clothes that you have to hang and they don't get like ruined by getting too wrinkly.
Yeah, and there's lows like, I think at least some of this recording, of course we don't know about inflation, but it's about $10 for like these wardrobe boxes. And again, it fits about, I don't know, like 2 feet of, let's say a closet rod. But when you think about it, like if you're gonna, like, if you don't do that, and let's say that you have like nicer, let's say that I like items you're gonna need to hang up. Well, yeah, you could pack that in a cheaper box, but then you'll probably need to get dry cleaned. So the cost of the dry cleaning doesn't make sense. It's worth it just to get the wardrobe box. Because we were actually kind of amazed when we did do that. We're like, oh wow, these wardrobe boxes worked. Our stuff isn't all wrinkled up. And so that's one thing. So so like the variety of boxes, and also when like for instance, if you need a television box, don't be too skimpy. We actually lost a TV on the move because we didn't pack the TV right. So we didn't, the movers didn't, but at the same time, these TV boxes, I think even over there, like you can get like a box for like $20 that fits like up to a 70-inch TV, and it's got like all the inserts and stuff to kind of keep it nice and snug, so you don't lose out, you don't lose that, you don't have an unfortunate casualty in that situation. But so that's like, okay, that's the material. Second thing is, it's actually kind of worth it if it makes sense for your budget to hire somebody to actually pack your stuff.
Yeah.
Because what I find is that, like when we're doing it, you kind of get a little bit paralyzed, like
you get nostalgic.
And paralyzed because you're going, where do I even like put this stuff like in a spot, like what boxes and all that stuff, and like you have someone that just doesn't have all that emotional energy tied to these things.
Because they don't know anything about your things, so they're just throwing it in a box. Whereas when you're doing it, you're like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, you just pause.
It reminds me of that time. And
yeah, you're like, no, we're eye on the prize here. Just throw stuff in boxes, have them type it up, So yeah, that's what I would recommend is for sure getting that. Invest in bubble wrap, invest in, obviously reasonable quality tape.
Yeah.
And just like that kind of thing. So that's the material, the packing. Yeah. So now you're all packed up. Yeah. Now, how are you going to get that to here? Like, how are you going to get here? So there's a couple options. Obviously, you have the self-service option, like the Penske's, the U-Hauls, and that kind of thing. And then obviously you have the professional movers, where it's like a one-stop shop. They load the truck, they have the truck, they take it to where you're going to, they drop it off, and some of them will like reassemble your furniture too, like like your dining room table and stuff like that. So a couple different options. Obviously, the price difference can vary unbelievably, so you want to check on that. And a lot of times, like these professional movers, they'll send out somebody to kind of give you an estimate, really kind of nail them down on it, because sometimes they will. Some movers will actually kind of totally change the pricing. I had a client that she was quoted. She had like a studio, so she had like that much stuff. She was quoted like $2,000, and then they ended up charging her $4,000. And you're like, oh, that's like literally double. Like how that happened. So you want to really like zero in on, okay, is there anything I'm missing on these prices? Because again, you don't want to be stuck with she might have made a whole different decision if she actually had known that it was going to cost double what she was quoted.
And that's for a studio.
Exactly. So that's why you got to be kind of careful. So there's that. But of course, these days fuel cost is crazy expensive.
They're not cheap these days.
Yeah, it's just kind of nuts. And then obviously you want to do your due diligence, kind of find out who's reputable, and kind of check out the reviews or Better Business Bureau things, because obviously these movers, you want to make sure that they're highly regarded, right? And you don't want to like leave your precious things with someone that will damage or steal it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. No matter how reputable a mover is, anything that's valuable papers, that kind of stuff, jewelry, just put it in your own car.
Or however you're getting here.
And don't put it in the hands of honestly anybody, because you never know.
Yeah, it would just be a shame if somehow that was lost or whatever. So basically, try to keep your like really precious valuables as much as possible like in your own hands.
And documents as well, like documents that can't be replaced. That kind of stuff.
That Picasso, whatever you need to do there. So there's that. And then on top of that, what we want to do is, okay, so let's say you do go the self-service option. So one, you want to have probably a professional mover at least load up your truck, because they use that cellophane wrap, which does a great job of keeping it all bundled up and tight.
And plus they know how to get it in, like, so that you're using as much space as possible.
Yeah, we might be dating ourselves, but think of Tetris. Like literally they're angling these things. It's amazing how they jigsaw their way into it, but it's like Jenga. Like it's amazing how these pieces all fit together to maximize that entire volume. So one, I would recommend getting a professional mover to take those packed up things, putting it in there, and so there's that. But then second, okay, like what are you gonna do as far as the truck? So that's where, okay, you can go U-Haul, you can go Penske or whatever. And we had an experience with U-Haul, and it was really hectic because we had rented a 26-footer like weeks before. Thought we were set. Got a call from them the night before saying, oh, yeah, we don't have, like, and for one way, right? Like for a one-way trip. And they're like, oh, we don't have that truck available for you. We have a 20-footer, but not a 26-footer.
So they changed it to us with 24 hours until we had to move.
Not even 24 hours. Like, almost like 12.
12 hours, yeah.
So you're going, okay, well, the movers are scheduled the next morning. What, as far as to load the truck, so what am I going to do? And then you're just kind of we were just scrambling to try to figure out what we could do. And it was just one of those crazy experiences where we're going, there's no way 20-footer is going to cut it. So do we have to do 2 trips, which is insane because that's twice the time, which is crazy, but also twice the fuel. And basically the truck price isn't dramatically less for the 20-footer compared to the 26-footers. You're going, that's crazy, right? So we end up having to do was we actually rented a 26-footer for a local move, which means that we had to deliver it back to the same U-Haul we rented it from. So, and oddly enough, it wasn't dramatically more expensive, which is kind of crazy compared to a one-way, because one-ways are obviously a lot more expensive than around town. And so it wasn't much more expensive, but when you looked into it, it just wasn't going to make any sense any other way.
Yeah, so let me explain, because I don't know if you explained exactly. So instead of driving it here to St. George and then
leaving it here
at a different U-Haul, we rented the truck, drove it to St. George, and then drove it back to California.
Yes.
Because that was just the only way that we could do it.
Yes, otherwise it was just not going to happen.
Well, we couldn't get our stuff in the truck.
Yeah, and in
we
fact,
even had to get a trailer.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So actually, what we ended up doing as well was we actually rented a 6 by 12 foot trailer to tow behind the truck to squeeze in the last little things. We had already thinned. Obviously, we still have probably more things we probably shouldn't have taken, but
once you get here, you'll be like, why did I take it?
Yeah, it was true. As I was unloading, I'm going, what are we doing? But so we actually rented a trailer as well. So we had long story short, in one trip we were able to move all of our stuff here. Although I had a nice long drive back with an empty truck.
Well, in reality, he had to go back to get his car anyway.
Yeah, so it wasn't. It worked out.
He was gonna fly back, but then he drove back, got his car, drove back.
Yes, but let's say you do get let's say your situation isn't as hectic. What people do also is they get the one way. They actually have a trailer and they tow their car. So just one trip making it out here. It's just that was logistically for our situation that wasn't happening.
Yeah, we couldn't even we couldn't even reserve it 6 weeks earlier than the move.
Yeah.
The car trailer. So.
And that's probably, that's got a lot to do with time of year. I mean,
but still, they could have called us 24 hours before and been like, oh, sorry, we can't.
Even 24 hours, we would have been stuck. We were kind of in such a tricky position. So I guess that's one thing you want to really verify with any of these things. Okay, how guaranteed is this truck? Because you're making all your plans based off of that truck being there. And if it's not, and that's why, in retrospect, we're going, man, we maybe would have been better off with the professional movers, to be honest.
Honestly, because the lost time, I was like, what, the expense is less, but the time that you're losing,
it was
what is that worth?
I would say it was seductive in that we were only coming from Southern California, so it was like a 6-ish hour drive. With the truck, it's definitely slower than that.
And I know we were rambling, so the camera actually turned off because it's too hot.
It was telling us something. We were rambling too long. It's we're done.
So we're done. But yeah, that's the thing. Don't assume that if you're going to do it yourself, that the U-Haul will be available.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you're worried about cost, it may, like, given how crazy it would have been with 2 trips and all that stuff, it may even cost you dollar amount more, not to mention all your time.
Yeah, so that's it.
Our tips.
And that's it. That's our video.
And while we do love making these videos, we are licensed realtors in the state of Utah, so what we love more is to help you with your real estate needs. So whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, what you want to do is you want to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email.
Or you can reach out to us via WhatsApp. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back.